Hello everybody, my name is Madeline and I am a Queensland Australian artist. If you have seen my YouTube channel videos before, you'll know this is very different to the content I usually create, but I was finally able to showcase my Dear Dieter art and poetry exhibition. This was a tribute to the amazing Dieter Moeckel, my adoptive grandfather. I am so excited to have been able to put together this body of work and to now finally be able to share it with the public. All of the artworks are currently on display at the Book Boutique Bundaberg. I wanted to help you guys get to know Dieter a little bit better, as he wasn't able to be a part of this exhibition due to health issues, but he was so over the moon to be able to showcase his poetry alongside the paintings that I created. Several years ago, Dieter commissioned me to illustrate his poems that he had written over many years, and at first I was really unsure if I was equipped to do such a thing. I had only just started my small business as a junk journal maker. I wasn't really drawing or anything like that, but thanks to him, I got back into it. I took on the commission and I've been oil painting ever since. Having done those first sketches, I knew I didn't just want Dieter's friends and family to be able to read his poetry. I wanted to turn them into something a little bit more, so I set out to tribute this exhibition to him and turn those original sketches into oil paintings. Now let's dive into Dieter's past, his background, and his inspiration. I give to you Snippets of Dieter Moeckel.
I was born in Karlsruhe in Germany, southern Germany. My parents emigrated in about 1953, 54. They decided that there wasn't much future in Germany at the time, and so they decided to emigrate. And it was a choice between South Africa, Canada and Australia, and they tossed coins and Australia came out on top. Of course I like Australia.
Yeah.
I'm Australian through and through.
Yeah.
The first time was very much when I was 15, 16 years old.
Yeah.
I was at home alone. It was dark, and I watched watched rain falling on a bitumen road outside our window. It sparked something in me, something chilly and something good. My family is artistic. My grandfather was an artist in his own right, and he sold paintings after the war and lived from his art, and raised 5 kids, 6 kids, maybe 7 kids, I'm not sure. But his mother died when he was 12, and so his father remarried. 2 of my uncles who died in the war were very good artists, like the oldest, Alfred. He could paint you a rose and you would believe it was real. But he was caught by partisans, by Russian partisans, and had his fingers cut off.
Oh goodness.
His eyes gouged out with his fingers, and the 5 fingers put the eye sockets.
Oh.
And cut his penis and his balls off and shoved it down his throat. Probably they were female partisans. The next one, he lost a leg in the war, and they put him on home duties to look after people who were at home. And a woman was very distraught that she left her sewing machine behind and the wall collapsed on him. He can't it like that.
Goodness me.
On my mother's side, her brother was a whiz with electronics, a great whiz with electronics. He was captured by the Americans. he was captured because he continued fighting when he ran out of bullets and sent one of his men, who was a sergeant, to get more ammunition. And of course, they were 5 kilometres in front of the line, and they couldn't get the bullets to the wrong place at the wrong time.
Oh, no.
So he was captured. He played American supplied movies backwards, where the Americans were running backwards and the Germans forwards.
Oh no.
So they stopped him from doing that until he promised not to do that anymore.
Wow.
But he came out of that all right. My father was still fighting the war. He was decorated, but he was still fighting the war 10 days after the peace had been declared, because he'd never got the message. And he was out there bombing and shooting at a convoy of trucks. When the Americans came out, the truck said, "Finished, finished, the war's finished, the war's finished." So he took off, and he was never discharged from the war. And when he came to Australia, he applied for a job as South Coast Defence, and the Australian government said, "No, you've got a prize hanging on you from the Russians, and we don't trust that situation, because you're worth $10,000 to the Russians."
Wow.
So my father just took off.
So what did he do after that? So he wasn't allowed to...
He went to a dentist school and became a dentist. Probably in the 2nd grade dentist, not a dental surgeon, but a dentist who did fillings and made teeth and stuff like that.
It's a very big jump from one thing to another, isn't it? You wouldn't expect that.
Because he was in what they called the Adolf Hitler School,
Right.
which was an officer training school
Right.
for young blokes who went in. Because my father was very young, and that's when he took off. He went back to where he was at Grünwinkel. He went to, which is sort of now an outer suburb of Karlsruhe. And at the main railway station, they used to sell souvenirs to the Americans. And one souvenir was booze. And what they do is they buy a bottle of cognac or a bottle of brandy and tip that out or drink it, and then fill the rest of it up with tea the same colour. And they let the Americans test the good one, not the bad one. At one time, the Americans opened it up too quickly and shot at him as he ran down the railway line,
Wow.
the railway track. So there's lots of funny stories, lots of silly stories.
Yeah.
But
That's really interesting.
I am a product of the Second World War, I guess.
Other than paintings even? Or is that something that you quite like to see as well?
I like painting. My father and I always argued on what good painting was. I was modernist and my father was traditional landscapist, my grandfather, and I was drawn to the modernist. I suggested things like tearing down the cathedrals and putting high rises up, which used to drive my old man nuts. But my father and I argued a lot, but not argued in the sense of real argument. You know, it was always something trivial or something that sort of ran down the street, you know. I remember one time he had a list. We went down for Christmas. When we lived in the Territory, we would go down for Christmas. We'd go to my parents' place for Christmas Eve. Of course, that's what we celebrated. And then went to Margo's parents' place for Christmas Day. But we went down to see my father, and he had a list of about 20 items which he wanted to argue with me about. So we had this benign but viciously benign argumentativeness between the two of us. I'd have been a farmer if my father accepted sheep in his paddock. But my father would not have sheep, but he raised good pigs. So he couldn't get a licence to practice in Australia. So he worked on the sly. And he came and he found a lot of his work in other people's mouths that have emigrated as well. So he was an artist with teeth and inlays. He could make you a crown that he could just pop in without cement or anything else. I had a front tooth which had a gold inlay right in the middle of the tooth. And the old man took the wax resist type of mould and he popped it in there and he couldn't get it back out again. And it was there until I was, 30, 40? Yeah, he was good like, he had massive hands. That he ever managed to them into someone's mouth really surprises me. But delicate touch, really delicate touch. So I get my art from that side of the family. My old man missed out, and he had a younger brother, Carl Hines, who died of cancer when he was 48. But he didn't have to go to war because when they were in the bombed out craters of the First World War were the toy castles and things of the Second World War, and the kids played there. In fact, my grandfather was absolutely hopeless with his children. Tex, the one that you've seen photographs of, he was only a tacker, and where they played is where the Rhine River had a swamp, like a bend. Hard to explain, but they straightened the Rhine, right? So they cut out a lot of oxbow bends, and they were all swamp. And Tex wasn't keeping up. So the hooligans that were roaring around the swamp said, "No, you stay here. If you step off this place, you'll drown in the swamp." And of course, my grandfather didn't miss him for 4 days. So Tex was standing on this bit. I said, "Oh shit, we've left Tex in the swamp." So they're all part of my art in the sense that it's there in my head. Yeah. It's less physical art than imagined art. When I was fishing, I had a camp out on the Adelaide River where I used to keep all my stuff, get my crab pots and everything else. From there I used to head off and set my crane pots and stuff. And it was very often that I was there, like during a tide. 7 metre tides, you're stuck. If you go somewhere, you're stuck. I started writing a bit then. I wrote about a star that was mine, that belonged to me. And that was my first serious poetic construct. But most of my other stuff was read and memorised and criticised. Like, for instance, I never did like Shakespeare. I didn't like Goethe or Schiller. I liked the lesser-known poets. But also, they had to have some poetic structure. I couldn't cope with the modern poetry, which just rambles on and mucks around. It's a bit like art, drawn art. There's got to be a theme, some sort, and I look for the theme. And I look for the theme in the written word, and I also look for the theme in art, in paintings. I can pick a theme, and I can enjoy a theme. There's I spent a lot of time in the Sydney Museum, in the Sydney Art Gallery. Whenever I went into the city, I went to and I lived about 30, 40 kilometres out of town. So when I did errands for my father, like bought materials for his dental practice, I'd take the gallery or the museum in as part of the job. And there were a lot of paintings there that I absolutely cherished and would have loved to have owned. One was called Melody of Colours. And I'm sure now when I think back, it was just concentric circles in different colours. They were matching and they didn't contrast. They flowed into each other. They were beauty all of its own. And I absolutely adored that. I tried to redo those and stuff, but what was important in my life was that I started studying when I was 20, when I was at teachers' college. No, I was young at that. And I started voraciously reading. Catcher in the Rye, all of Salinger's work, all of Hemingway's work. I didn't like the other one. Who was the other one? There was Hemingway. I can't remember, but he's also famous about the same time. So all of this stuff trained my mind of things, and that was all my own art. It lived within me. It overflowed in my heart, if you like.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until about 20 years after that, maybe 10 years after that, 10 years, I started expressing myself in poetry. Come Cyclone, I lost most of it.
Yes, you did say that.
I lost most of it. Also, the stuff that I wrote about the topic I was studying, like Christala's theory of the hexagons, and so on. The material that came out Brûlé in the United States and stuff like that. And then when I started getting old, I was no longer studying. I stopped. When did I stop studying? 5 years ago. So I ended up with certificate in teaching, diploma in teaching, Bachelor of Arts in journalism and creative writing, a master's in fish farming, and what else? A diploma in laws. Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
So I started all those. I started it all my life.
Yeah.
And once I could no longer study, I started writing. I tried painting, it didn't work.
It didn't stick.
I should have, maybe I should have tried harder. It's there somewhere, right? But I'm now at the stage where my handwriting is so bad that I can't write it anymore. Now I'm in my mind.
Yeah. So I suppose this exhibition is featuring several of my favourite pieces of yours. So we have the Four Horsemen, Proposal, Us, Self-Isolation, Lady Jane Grey, Of Wet and Dry, Cannibal, The Bell It Tolls for Thee.
Yeah.
So those are the pieces that I have chosen based on the commission that you asked of me to do sketches for, that I thought had really good compositional value and very good concepts that I could work with and create pieces that were going to basically best represent the pieces that you have of your poetry. Out of those, which is your favourite poem?
No, I don't. Because they all nestle into something else. Often they're a precept of what I'd read and what I'd read. Now, obviously, the Four Horsemen is religious, is revelation. What are the Four Horsemen? Flood, fire,
famine, and pestilence.
Famine and pestilence. That's the Four Horsemen. And I try to put that issue into a poem that would stand on its own.
Then, and very relevant to today as well.
Yeah. One other one that is the first one, the koala climbing up the tree and getting burnt.
Bushfires.
Bushfires,
yes. Yeah.
That drought has always been a big issue in my life, drought and flood. And then, of course, there are a couple of love poems.
Yes.
Right? They're connected almost entirely with Margo.
Yeah.
Right? She's the love of my life. Although I don't always admit it. And I didn't ever propose to me under a willow tree. I had a motor scooter, a Vespa motor scooter, and we were hanky-panky. I drove home one day and I said, turned around, went back and said, do you want to marry me? And she wasn't so sure, right? And the most interesting part of that story is that my father was very moral. I'd just come home from Margo at about 3 o'clock in the morning, went home, got changed, and was heading out to Teachers College, and my father was clipping the hedge. And I thought, something's going on here, because my father was normally never up until 10. There's something going on here. And he said, where are you going? And I said, I'm off to Teachers College, I've got to catch the train. Wait, young fellow, you come back here. And I said, yes, Pop, what do you want? And he said, that girl you're seeing, you have two options. You either do the right thing and marry her, or leave her for someone else. That night I proposed.
Isn't that beautiful? Oh,
and then Margo came over for dinner one night, for a chicken dinner.
Yes, we had a chicken each.
Chicken dinner. You have a chook, you have a chook, you have a chook. That was it. And my father liked you straight away, didn't he?
Yeah, fortunately.
Unfortunately.
Some of the others he'd said, what do you like about her?
Oh, he'd be like that. He'd say, what do you like about here? And I'd say, they'd say, she a good root? And I said, Dad, well, it matters.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, so that's the level we could talk at in my family. Other things were, my mother would say, what are we going to eat tonight? I haven't got any meat. And the three of us, my brother, my father and I, whipped out our willies and put them on the table. And my mother just ran in from the kitchen with a knife. But see, sexuality is not as bad in Germany. It's more part of life. It's not as taboo as it is elsewhere. But mind you, if we went to the beach and got changed to go underwater, my mother would walk 17 miles to make sure nobody saw her. She was that modest, right? But didn't worry about us being naked. That didn't matter. You're my husband, you've seen me naked, you're my boys, I brought you out naked.
Yeah.
Right? But her nakedness, I got that terrible trouble. I walked in her in the shower one time, quite accidentally, and all hell to pay.
Oh.
Yeah, that was Mum. She was like that. We took her out on our boat. I told you I sailed the boat from Brisbane to Darwin, right? And we took Mum out. It was a catamaran. We took Mum out, and we were going through the harbour. And she said, "There's only one problem with this. Where can you be modest and someone might see you with with the clothes off?" And we all said, "Mum, you're going to be 5 miles out to sea. Nobody can see you." She just said, "Oh, that's silly of you. We're all bred." That's sort of my life, my art, my writing is all intermingled. It's all part of me. I'm a terrible person. I am. You know that song, Amore? If the willy is erect and the pussy is wet, that's amore.
Oh my God. Oh dear.
I'm terrible. I do that all the time. Change words.
it's light-hearted and it's wonderful sense of humour, which is something that I guess is different now. Everything we have, so it's quite refreshing to have that sense of humour and know that it's all in good fun.
It's all fun.
That's right, and that's what's important. It's what makes you you. So that's something that's very special.
And I do have Michelle's.
Mhm.
I have a perv perch.
Yes.
It's on the corner. It means I could watch girls going that way and watch girls going this way.
Oh dear.
Perv perch. I saw you in the fruit shop and you were pretty. No, you were beautiful, right? And I am not one to stand back on beauty and stuff. If someone's beautiful, I'll tell them, you are beautiful. And I think that's another thing that we've lost in our lifetime. You were beautiful, you were efficient, you were graceful in the way you treated a shit job. Right?
Yeah.
And I started asking you questions. I thought then, even then, it's many years ago now, that you have the ability to go to university and do very well, right? You were doing something stupid like
Psychology.
Where you would have been better off doing art. Your character and the way your demeanour appealed to me very much. You were almost a kindred spirit. And as it turned out, you are our granddaughter, right? And that doesn't mean that you're our adopted granddaughter. It means you are our granddaughter. End of story. Owlie is our daughter. End of story. She's not adopted. She's not an in-law, but she's our daughter. And you are in the same place.
It's a beautiful family dynamic that you guys have. It's honestly wonderful.
That's why we like you, because you're just as wonderful. No, and that was it. And Mark and I looked at each other and we agreed. You know? An understanding of people, of each other. Sometimes you find people who are as ugly as a dog's bum, right? And yet they are the most beautiful people that you can know, right? Other times you can see very beautiful people and they're shit. And my exhibition, well, I don't expect you to put this in, is to make you rich. Right? And for your success to be as wonderful as my success was, and just as generous. My son, our son, the son, when I turned 50, we had it down near the fire, but now we can't because of the fire. He gave a short speech and he said, my father is Mr. G. He's always given us the best that he can afford. He's always given us the love that we needed, the encouragement we needed. And so we were good at sport because we got the best of the best. See, Lara was, you'll get to see it, she's skinny as. Lara represented Australia in softball and in, what's the other one? Touch. And she was the Australian touch champion. You know, she's good. She's very dedicated to everything, and that includes the family and everything else. She's going to Florida. Did we tell you? No, she's going to Florida in February, taking a team to Florida.
Wow, that's amazing.
She took a team to Las Vegas last year.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And my girls too, my two girls, they're as different as chalk and cheese, right? Phoenix is stoic, right? She's, as Dakota says, She'll never get a husband because of the way she behaves. And Dakota, the older one, she is just as lovely as her mother, you know. She'll ring me out of the blue and say, how are you, Opa? Whereas Phoenix has got to be told. Yes, and I'd like us and many others to unite as people through my art, through my poetry, through my written work, right? Which I think is pretty good, but people won't understand it, and to draw together more family, right? Like Meow Meow's mum and dad. I'd like to draw them into our family, you know, and say, right, they're part of our family. Come and stay with us. Come and have dinner with us. Come and eat with us. Be part of... Family is something good. Family is something really great. It's something that no one can take away from you. No one can sully it if it's given in generosity and in integrity. What else? When we got married, we wanted to get married, and Margo's parents were dead against it. Right? I mean, really dead against it. Margo's mother, she did some terrible things. But we got married, and my father and Margo's father gave the priest an envelope with money in it. And my father said, isn't that nice? They're paying for the kid's wedding. But it wasn't so. It was a donation to the church. We still paid for it ourselves. Right? They weren't bad people. They were just like you said, your father was straight down the line. They were church-wise. And after they realised that it's not going to happen, they'd come and visit every year and buy something nice. But that never ever paid for having had a wedding that was joyous. I had my brother, at my wedding I had my mum and dad, my brother and his mate, right? Oh, actually it wasn't his mate, it was the boy across the road. And Margo, and that's all we had there. Right? No bridesmaids, no nothing. You know? So
Not even a wedding dress.
not even the wedding dress. My mother made Margo's wedding dress. My father went and put white streamers on the car, and Margo's dad went along and pulled them all off again. Yeah. So it wasn't either ours or Margo's best day of the life. The best thing about our marriage was we went to Tuina for our wedding, and the bloke behind the bar couldn't find a room for us, and he kept giving us free drinks. And we finally got the wedding suite, which was empty all the time, but he was just filling us with booze. And in the morning, I got to the window, and some of the hooligans yelled up, "How was it?" You know. They're the sort of things I can remember. They're the things that those boys got together with me on a completely different plane than my parents did. Right? Which brings me to a point. You know how they often say that the Greeks hang out the sheet to make sure that there's blood?
Yes.
Not true. It's to make sure that the sheet is wet. Because years ago, only 50 years ago maybe 100 years ago, a marriage was not consummated until the first intercourse, right? So they weren't hanging out the sheet for the window to see if she was a virgin. They were hanging out the sheet and saying, it's now official. And that's the sort of stuff that I collect to myself, and you know, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good to know. It's
interesting, isn't it? Yeah, I really value just little things like that too, because it's just so interesting the way the world works and things like that. It's wonderful. Okay, well that's pretty much all we're going to really discuss. We've pretty much covered everything. And thank you so much.